Why can't I use my cell phone on an airplane? It's a mystery, and the answer is not what you think. And the only way to solve this mystery is through understanding law and science. So today we're going to untangle this labyrinth and find out the real reason we're not allowed to use cell phones on an airplane. For the last 15 years we've been given a reason, and that reason is cell phones might cause the plane to go down in flames, crashing in a ball of molten metal and jet fuel. In fact, the concern is so great that if you argue with a flight attendant over using a cell phone, you could be arrested and taken off the flight. If you intimidate the flight attendant, you could serve up to 20 years in prison. So why the safety concern about cell phones? It isn't because of the cell phone signal that comes off the phone. That's of a frequency that couldn't possibly interfere with anything on the aircraft. Instead, it's because of the electromagnetic interference, which is radiation that emanates from every personal electronic device. If you look inside the cockpit of a commercial airliner, it's filled with highly sensitive equipment required for navigation, communication, and other requirements for a safe flight. Safety officials worry that this electromagnetic interference might interfere with all this sensitive electronic equipment and create safety issues on the flight. The reason for this concern is this. This is the Federal Aviation Authority's Aviation Safety Reporting System. It allows pilots, crew members, flight attendants, anyone to voluntarily report a safety incident to the government. These reports are anecdotal, but the FAA does investigate many of these reports. In 2006, a crew member used the system to report an incident involving equipment like this. This is a portable DVD player. According to the report, when the DVD player was turned on, it caused the flight's GPS system to drift a few degrees. The incident was resolved by turning the DVD player off. Of course, today there are a lot more electronics on the flight, including laptop computers, readers, and of course, cell phones, to name just a few. With all of this equipment on board, there's a greater concern that electromagnetic interference might cause problems in the cockpit. Based on this concern, in 2008, MIT scientists jumped on 37 flights to measure EMI on the aircraft. These high-flying MIT scientists determined that there was sufficient electromagnetic interference on each of these aircraft to potentially interfere with the sensitive equipment in the cockpit. But here's the thing, despite these anecdotal reports, scientists and safety officials have been unable to recreate any of these problems under controlled circumstances in the lab, and there has yet to be a single incident or injury attributed to electromagnetic interference from personal electronic devices. In the face of this complete lack of hard evidence, here's what the FAA did when it passed its regulation. The rule prohibits personal electronic devices unless the airline has determined that these devices can operate without interfering with the navigation or communication systems of the aircraft. In other words, the FAA has punted to the airlines. There is no FAA regulation strictly prohibiting use of cell phones on aircraft. However, that's not the end of the story. There's another agency, the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC. They don't care about airline safety. That's not their jurisdiction. Their concern is communications, and they do have a rule prohibiting use of cell phones on aircraft. The FCC is concerned that cell phones on aircraft will interfere with ground-based cell towers. This is based on the concept of frequency reuse. Each cell tower has a different frequency that the cell phones can connect with. However, there are not enough frequencies to go around, so cell phone towers that are a little further away reuse the same frequencies. With cars driving along and people in office buildings and homes, there's little chance that one of these frequencies will overlap another area and create any problems. However, when the cell phone's flying at high speed in an aircraft, the concern is that the signal will reach out to different cell towers with the same frequency and interfere with the ground-based cell phone system. The FCC regulation went into place 15 years ago. Today, there's technology that can handle that problem. Specifically, there's a picocell, which is a mini cell tower that can be put right inside the aircraft. Then the exterior of the aircraft is blanketed with electromagnetic interference, which seals in all those cell signals and keeps them from leaking out to the ground-based towers around them. Picocells are installed in aircraft in Europe and around the world and being used safely even as we speak. Based on these advances, in 2013, the FCC said it would take another look at its regulation and consider lifting the ban on use on cell phones in aircraft. Since we know that the ban no longer is required for technological reasons, why is there still a ban in place? A clue comes from the public comment period announced by the FCC. They're required before changing a regulation to take public comment and hear what the public has to say. In this case, they received thousands and thousands of comments asking them not to change the regulation because people did not want to be stuck in a large metal tube flying over the United States for 5 hours or 8 hours next to somebody carrying on an inane cell phone conversation. In other words, the reason cell phones are still prohibited on aircraft today has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with cell phone systems. Instead, it has to do with plain and simple courtesy. People don't want to be stuck next to a cell phone conversation. And that's why you can't use cell phones on an airplane. I'm your host, Jon Deer. We've changed the name of our show. It's gone from Lawyer Flash now to Blob Law. We hope you'll check us out each week. Also, be sure to share our Facebook page and be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jon Deer, and we'll see you here next week on Blob Law.